Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? Happy Thursday. We are starting at 6:30 today, so ignore that this is usually at 5:30, which technically we're on time-ish for today's start time. All right. It's raining in New York pretty hard, so hopefully the Wi-Fi is our friend. We are about to see. Okay. So let's hop into it. Today, we're going to talk about Alex Jones for a quick second. We're mostly going to focus on a one Miss Bethenny Frankel, her TikTok drama, her sending cease and desist letters to small creators, as well as she is suing TikTok as well. So we are going to talk about all of that. Also, I have a mic set up for the first time for our live. So hopefully everything is working and the mic sounds good. Hey, New Nubian. Hey, Kyrie. Hey, Sam. And for Patreon, we talked about Alex a little bit yesterday, so it's not going to be very long. I just wanted to go through some of the funny headlines about Alex and the likelihood that that man is probably going to be very, very broke. Because that brings me a lot of joy because he is a trifling person. So, Variety, their headline read, Alex Jones is basically broke for the rest of his life. Yes. After Sandy Hook verdict, says former U.S. attorney. And Alex Jones, if you are not familiar, is the awful, trifling, and in my opinion, just vile human being that after the 2012 Sandy Hook school, I'm like, what word will the algorithm think is fine to say for this? Well, shooting. I mean, that's what happened. And unfortunately, many children died. Alex Jones decided to call the entire thing a conspiracy. For an entire decade, he went spewing hatred towards the families, saying that they were paid actors and all types of other nonsense. His followers, which people that usually follow these types of people are very rabid and very wild, also made numerous death threats to the families. The family sued. He actually, it was a default judgment against him because he decided he didn't want to go to court for whatever foolish reason. I suppose he thought he was above the law. The law said, not today. And in the past two trials, which were specifically on how much money he should pay, this newest trial, there was $45 million awarded in his Texas trial. In the Connecticut trial, it is a whopping $965 million that he is liable for in compensatory damages to these families. So compensatory is those types of damages are to make the victims whole, the plaintiffs whole. So the likelihood of that being reduced is less likely when they're compensatory versus punitive damages, which are for punishment. 965 mil, he clearly doesn't have it. Even if it gets reduced by 100 mil, that's still $865 billion, 200 mil, still a shit ton of money. His estimated net worth, according to the auditors, is somewhere between 170 million and 230 million. So the man has no money, most likely. However, so this is going to be an excellent win, I think, in terms of letting people realize there are consequences for your actions, and they may be delayed, but there are still consequences. So something interesting against him on his end, which he is doing what grifters do, which is now beg for money. So he believes that he will not pay a cent of this. In his own words, do these people actually think they're getting any money? He then went on to say that the $965 million verdict was a joke, and he urged his viewers to send him hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, he has no shame anyway. He also filed for bankruptcy with his business prior to any of this happening. I don't think he's getting out of it. They most likely, they're going to track him down. Most likely, I believe so. And what is interesting about court is just because the jury set that settlement, the judge ultimately has to enter into the verdict. In Connecticut, judges tend to defer to the jury. I think it will get reduced by a smidge. Not enough for him to still be walking around doing this. Not enough. Which is good, because the only thing that matters to people like this, they don't care about public scorn. He enjoyed the public scorn, made his ego bigger. They don't care about looking bad, about doing the wrong thing. They only care about money. So if you know listening, you must feel. And here we go. So we will likely see in the upcoming months him trying to appeal, most likely. I would go so far as to say that appeal being denied and him, bouncing around trying to pay this off. So it's going to be interesting. All right. Okay, so let's move into a one Miss Bethenny Frankel. If you're not familiar with the Real Housewives of New York series, do not worry. It is basically a bunch of wealthy women arguing in very lavish brownstones, apartments, and homes across New York. Bethenny Frankel came to Real Housewives and Bravo fame because she was one of certain people's favorites on Real Housewives of New York. And certain other people didn't like her. Personally, my spirit cannot take her, to be quite frank, which is why I got a good laugh of this headline from The Root, which stated, Bethenny Frankel, the richest Karen of them all, is coming after small TikTok creators. Will she succeed? Listen. You gotta love when someone just puts the shade into the title. So shout out to the only Candace that we recognize over here, which is Candace McDuffie. I believe that's Candace McDuffie, who is a longtime journalist for The Root and many other publications and an author. All right. So what exactly did Miss Bethenny Frankel do to get the ire of the white women of TikTok? Because she had the ire of Black women already. Which TikTok does a very smart thing. And I learned this lesson when we tried to do this a few lives ago, which is TikTok does not allow you to share the screen if you use StreamYard or any other broadcasting services. It will not let you play the video. So the video cannot play. I'm just putting it there. I had the video pulled up, so I'll put it here for y'all to see. Hold on. Oh no. Well, hold on. Let me find out what her handle was really quick. This is Meredith Lynch, which every time I read her name, I read Merrill Lynch in my mind. Meredith Lynch. Okay. I believe it's this TikTok. Let me put it here for y'all to watch for yourself. 1 second. Okay. So
we will have to be taking down.
All right. In this TikTok, Meredith, who, according to TikTok standards, is a small creator, she has approximately over 100,000 followers, which is a decent sized creator, I would say, across social media, but TikTok views as small because TikTok has wild numbers. According to Meredith, on her channel, she does social commentary, pop culture, and she had made a few TikToks using public information about Bethenny Frankel and her nonprofit and her businesses, saying, Bethenny girl, I'm not really feeling these businesses. I'm not really feeling what you're doing. It seems to me that there's some ulterior motives. There's nothing particularly slanderous about her content, nothing particularly wild about the content, just very this commentary, I noticed this, I don't like it. Bethenny then decided to send her, which is Meredith, as well as another smaller creator, cease and desist, stating, Meredith, honey, take off everything. Do not mention me ever again. Remove all of these things, to which Meredith was very unhappy. And Meredith went on TikTok, and it's not the caption, but I guess in the title is how TikToks work, on the top, because that's usually what people can see. Well, that's a wrap on this former housewife. So Meredith went on TikTok to let everyone know, hey, Bethenny, whose name I can't say, so she keeps referring to her as the Real Housewives of New York former star, which everyone knows is Bethenny, is upset because I made some very mild TikToks about her. I had to take them down. She sent me a cease and desist, and that caused a whole hullabaloo on TikTok of people being like, Bethenny, what's the problem? This is a small creator. Bethenny's channel or page, y'all know me and the TikTok, I don't go over there. I try to every couple months. I'm like, I should really do this. And every couple months, I'm reminded, I'm a woman of a certain age and I don't want to be bothered with this. So we'll see. But after going online and stating that Bethenny was essentially silencing a small creator, unbeknownst to Bethenny and her team, who thought that they were just going to bulldoze Meredith, there is now a bunch of videos of people being like, well, that's all Bethenny does, is make commentary, speak about other things, give her opinions. In her own words, she thinks Kylie lip kits are a scam. I would agree with her on that. I mean, it's not making the lips bigger. That's filler. Filler will make your lips bigger. Redrawing your lip line will make your lips look bigger. The lip kit is not really going to do that. So I would give her 1 point for that. Saying that Hailey Bieber, who is the newest appropriator with her brownie, what did she decide to call the lip liner, which I've done, everyone has done, essentially Black women and Latinas since the 80s, which is drawing the brown lip liner, because a lot of us, the outsides of my lips are brown, and then putting the lip gloss on it. She decided she wanted to call it brownie blah, some long foolish name. So then Black TikTok as well as Latina TikTok dragged her and was like, girl, what are you talking about? We've been doing this. This is not new. You're not creating any trends. It is giving mini Kim K. So Bethenny Frankel called her line basic, etc. So Bethenny gives a lot of her opinions on TikTok, but she doesn't like, apparently, when people give opinions about her. And that is the word of the day. So now, instead of Meredith quietly going away, Meredith has made a few other videos saying, okay, well, you sent the cease and desist. I took down all the videos that mention your names. Brownie glaze. It was something benign and stupid. And also her calling it brownie when it's mostly brown people using it. I felt away. I was like, girl, it's giving suspect just like your father. I feel away. Like, what is going on over here? What is going on over here? So in that, what has been interesting, Meredith is making new videos like, okay, I'm not allowed to mention you because obviously Meredith doesn't want to get sued. So she just keeps referring to her as the former New York housewife, which is proving the point that you should be allowed to give commentary on things. What does it matter? Also, for context, Bethenny is a very wealthy and very shrewd hustler and businesswoman. Bethenny has 1 million followers on TikTok. She doesn't really need the TikTok money. I will give it to her, adapting to a new platform quickly to stay relevant and to do her little reviews and all of that. Kudos to her for that. However, it's not working. It's not working because now the white women of TikTok are very upset with her for coming at another white woman. And it's fascinating. It's very interesting. Hence why The Root decided to put out this very hilarious article. It is going to be interesting to see who wins this war because what Bethenny and her PR team are not realizing about social media is social media very much, I would say YouTube is similar as well as Instagram, and TikTok from my perusal is similar in that social media usually you know more and you will side with because you have somewhat of a parasocial relationship with the smaller creator, the regular person, not with Bethenny and the Brownstone. They don't know her. They don't know her. They never seen her. It's like, okay, yeah, that's cute. But regular Meredith, we've been new regular Meredith. So why would we side with you? So we'll see how long this goes on for. Bethenny has essentially created a problem for herself that she should have just left alone and just went with her TikTok lawsuit because the TikTok lawsuit actually makes sense. All right. So this is Meredith Lynch. So she has 178,000 followers. I think it's really interesting that on TikTok, she classifies herself as a small creator as well as in the articles classify her as a small creator. Like that on YouTube would be a large creator. So I think that's like very interesting in terms of learning about how the different platforms function. Okay, and then here goes Miss Bethenny with 1 million followers, 17.5 million likes. Just Be with Bethenny, Forever Young, Be Strong. I believe Be Strong is her nonprofit, which Meredith was critiquing. All right, so this is not out of order, but this will make sense in 1 second. So Bethenny is suing TikTok, so let's talk about that in the TikTok lawsuit, because this is very interesting because TikTok is, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many lawyers, many just people on the internet, many netizens, the wild west of social media, of the internet in general. Anything goes on TikTok. So Bethenny is suing TikTok for 4 complaints. Actually, we'll skip ahead and then we'll go backwards because now it's going to actually bother me. There are 4 counts in her class action lawsuit, which we'll get into in a second. So the first is right of publicity. The second is right of publicity under specifically New York law. The third is common law unfair competition, and then permanent injunctive relief. So to tell them like, hey, you need to fix these things and take this down. So essentially for background, what happened, which I didn't have a picture of her with just the background. So we'll just talk about it for a second. What occurred was Bethenny has a TikTok and she has lots of followers on her TikTok, 1 million to be exact. She's making all these skincare reviews of what she views to be the basic girls because she doesn't view herself to be a basic girl. Whatever, that's none of our business. And in doing so, a company and another TikTok user decided to take one of her TikToks, edit the TikTok, and use Bethenny's face, her likeness, and her former TikTok and a former video of her to say that Bethenny is sponsoring and basically doing a collaboration with this knockoff cardigan, which nothing is going to get a rich woman more upset than to tell her she is peddling a fake. So Bethenny didn't like that. Bethenny didn't like that for good reason, to be quite frank. You're using my face, my likeness, my TikTok that I already made to peddle some foolishness, and you didn't even pay me. You didn't even ask. You're using nonsense. That's like the other day on Instagram. Y'all had sent me, thank goodness, and then I think hopefully got taken down. Everyone sent a bunch of requests to Instagram to get it taken down. Someone used my face and used I have recently, well, not recently, a few years ago, I went on a fitness journey for myself to get really fit, to lose a bunch of weight, but more so not really particularly about the weight, but I wanted to be stronger. So I did powerlifting and I did a bodybuilding competition. So I had another Instagram, just motivate myself. And so I've forgotten about it. I don't like use it anymore. So it just sits there. So somebody went on the Instagram, took all of these fitness pictures, and what do people do with fitness pictures? Assign sexuality to it and do nonsense, and was like, oh yes, this is my backup. And we are not selling nothing, honey. We are selling nothing. So people will do that. People will do nonsense. So I definitely understand and agree with Bethenny and like, no, we're not doing this. We are not doing this whatsoever. Here is this lawsuit. Now, the interesting thing that happened was because TikTok is the wild, wild west, Bethenny, or maybe according to the lawsuit, a lot of her followers then commented and were like, you're selling out. You're over here peddling fakes. I thought you were this rich woman that we could live vicariously through. What is this? Bethenny said that damaged her reputation. She then made a TikTok calling out the fake cardigan company. Like, what is this? I didn't sign up for this. It's not a collaboration, etc. Oops, excuse me. TikTok then took her TikTok down and said that it was abusive and aggressive, which is ironic. TikTok does not have great moderation rules whatsoever. TikTok, if you push back at somebody and they view you to be aggressive, TikTok will just take your shit down. TikTok will delete entire pages of creators if they think like, oh, I don't know what you're doing, which is why I don't bother with it. Because I'm like, nobody knows what the rules are over there. Nobody can tell you what the rules are over at TikTok. So Bethenny decided, I'm going to sue. There is, I would say, not something standing in her way, but somewhat of an issue, which is Section 230. So Section 230 was created when the internet was created. So Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which states these are the 27 words that people basically say created the internet. No provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider. Essentially, if you run a platform, you cannot be held liable for what people are uploading to your platform. So if by some very bizarre turn of Stephanie has turned into a capitalist event, I own all of Google and I'm like, it's mine. I'm Scrooge McFucking Duck over here. And I would never get in trouble for people uploading nonsense on YouTube. That's how it works. Thank you so much, Kyle. I appreciate you. And thank you, Issa Smith. Keep being awesome. I love your videos. Yes. Also, F the student loans, which we're going to talk about next week because F the student loans. And the people suing because they don't want y'all to get money. I don't qualify, which we've already talked about. But yes, so that is what Section 230 does. Because of Section 230, people have been barred from suing Google. Google is the parent company of Facebook. The parent company of YouTube, have been barred from suing Facebook, have been barred from suing Facebook for Instagram as well, which Meta is the parent company of Facebook and Instagram now, which have they changed the name of the actual Facebook browser to Meta? I don't go over there. I don't know. And etc. So you can't sue them. The interesting thing about this is what Bethenny is arguing is somewhat of content moderation. It is a content moderation law, which is stating as long as you do a little bit to say like, hey, I have this algorithm that is supposed to find the bad actors that are doing nonsense. I have actual human beings that review some of these things. Then you fall under compliance with Section 230, which comes up under DMCA, which we'll go over in a second. What is going to be really interesting, and we'll get into specifically how Bethenny's lawyers are trying to circumvent Section 230. I'm not sure it's going to work. It's a good try. People have tried all these years. Something that might actually help them before it makes its way through the court system is there is a Supreme Court case that is currently going to be heard by our very foolish, crooked, and conservative Supreme Court. So we'll see how it goes. Conservative leaning judges tend to lean pro-corporation. However, you know what? They always surprise you. You never know. And that case is Gonzalez v. Google, which the majority of the things that are in the synopsis of the case, I can't say because then the algorithm will tell me absolutely not and not give me my coin. So I'm going to leave this up here so y'all can read it. But essentially, the case stems around this young woman who was studying abroad in Paris. And unfortunately, she was murdered in an attack. And her family argued that YouTube specifically allowed violent, I'm trying to talk around this, violent content on its platform and did not moderate the platform, which led to her unfortunate murder. I feel like I said some words I shouldn't have said, but essentially that's what happened. So I'll leave this up here for a second so y'all can read it for yourself as well. This case, when it is heard, is going to be very interesting because essentially this case can change the entire structure of the internet. I am of the mindset, truthfully, which is we need better and actual nuanced content moderation, because the way that algorithms work, and people always think like, oh, this is a hot take. It's not a hot take anymore, because more so nowadays, I would say people are starting to realize this. You can write bias into code. It is a human programs an algorithm. That's how machine learning works. You have to teach the machine how to do something. These algorithms do not necessarily operate on a colorblind way. And also, if you even operate in a colorblind manner, that is creating a disparate impact anyway on certain types of people, particularly Black people, particularly people from certain areas of the world. In doing content moderation, because the rules are so lax, which is you just have to show, hey, I got a team and the team is trying and our algorithm is taking stuff down. Yeah, every once in a while my stuff gets taken down, but I'm not over here causing, I'm like, what words can we use? Attacks? My stuff is getting taken down for, in my opinion, asinine reasons, but that's neither here nor there. Now, we went over the counts. One of the things I want to talk about is the DMCA. So in 1998, Congress passed the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which basically states, as a platform, these are the things you need to do. So it amended the US copyright law to address important parts of the relationship between copyright and the internet. The three main updates were establishing protections for online service providers, aka Google, Meta, TikTok, in certain situations if their users engage in copyright infringement, including creating the notice and takedown system. So there's a whole DMCA system. 2, encouraging copyright owners to give greater access to their works in digital formats by providing them with legal protections against unauthorized access. So in terms of like sharing things like, okay, you can use my stuff as long as you credit that it's me, it's mine. Not like the other day, someone had the unmitigated gall on Instagram to repost my entire Jay-Z video, the whole video. I was like, you could just take a snippet like what people do as a post, mind you. And I was like, yeah, can we not? And when I asked them to take it down, they didn't say anything. They did remove it though. And I was like, we could just have a normal conversation. I don't know why you thought that it was appropriate, but sure. It is interesting because when the DMCA was enacted in 1998, obviously the internet has changed vastly since 1998. In theory, the takedown system is a good starting point. However, it needs to evolve past a good starting point. When I was in law school, there used to be positions just for, they were JD preferred, so you didn't have to have a legal degree, but essentially for people that were lawyers to work at various corporations. So like Sony used to hire people to do it. They might still. I think it all falls under the trademark and copyright attorneys. They usually have like intellectual property counsel now that will handle it. But they used to have just DMCA managers who would essentially go around and make sure that copyright wasn't being abused. Also, I worked at my first tech legal internship was at MakerBot, which if you remember way back in the day, 3D printing was going to be the next big thing. Hold on, something is itching. Was going to be the next big thing. And it was a great technology. Unfortunately, it was extremely expensive and cost prohibitive. So we all don't have 3D printers in our homes. However, the company had at the time, which maybe they still have, I have no idea. They, on their website, you could upload. They were a service provider in that you could upload your CAD files. So a CAD file is basically the file you use to say, I'm going to 3D print these earrings, or I'm going to 3D print a GUN, which part of my internship was making sure that people weren't uploading guns and things like that, which was the big fear when 3D printing first came out. People were like, oh my God, the fools are going to print themselves a gun. The 3D printer, the ones at that stage in time, back in 2014, they weren't sophisticated enough to do all of that. I'm sure people have kept up with the technology. I mean, maybe it is, but that was one of the things, like, as a company, would they be liable if people uploaded those files and we didn't catch it? And the answer was essentially no, because we had a little, I would say, process in policies in place. And that process and policies in place was me at the time, because it was just starting out, which was interesting. Eventually, I think they went on to actually build out, it was the engineering team's job to actually build out a bot that would review everything, because there weren't that many things being uploaded. This is back in the day when things were smaller. So that is what the DMCA is for, and what it's essentially supposed to do. How it works, to my understanding, at places like YouTube, for example, and Instagram, which is you have the algorithm. The algorithm runs the initial flag check. So the checks take pretty long nowadays. It's trying to make sure, is everything on your channel suitable for advertisers, which I think is interesting. And is everything that you're about to upload in compliance with DMCA? Are you uploading something that is extremely violent? Technically, on YouTube, you can upload violent things. It will just demonetize you. I'm not exactly sure what the line is of when it takes down the video, which is interesting. Prioritizing the advertisers over prioritizing people is a choice. I mean, it's a business, so I'm not going to get into that. However, there is a second level of review, like as a creator, if I feel like the algorithm got it wrong. And sometimes I'm like, the algorithm was incorrect. I didn't say anything bad. There's nothing salacious on here. We're talking about a lawsuit. Like, why? Explain it to me. You can ask for a manual review. So there are entire teams of people, usually sitting in countries where you can pay people less. I'm just going to put that out there. And they have to watch all this content. So there's actually a lot of research and literature now on what does that do to somebody for sitting here and watching what sometimes is jarring content. And it's creating like trauma and other issues in people. So it is a holistic issue. And because of that, when the corporations, when they argue, they say it's impossible for them to see all of the content being uploaded. There are millions of things being uploaded to YouTube, for example, every minute. And while it is impossible, that doesn't mean we can't do a better job, and we can't figure out how do you train the machine then to do it better, so you're not also traumatizing a whole section of people to watch what is most likely wild stuff. I'm sure when my stuff comes across, they're probably like, oh, yay, it's not violence and blood and gore and it's nonsense. So it's very, very fascinating. All right. I feel like, did we skip through it? Okay, we did it. We're in order now. Now, one of the really interesting things in the complaint, which I linked the complaint in the, hold on. I'm like, how do I make, okay, I think over here is good. I linked the complaint in the description box. I highly recommend to read it. It is a very good, thorough, I would say it's 32 pages-ish, I think. The first 16-ish pages are around the business of TikTok. It is one of the most thorough things I've read around the business of TikTok because, again, TikTok is a wild, wild west. Nobody knows what the rules are. The algorithm is so fascinating in terms of it will surface you new things every day. However, in terms of who it blocks versus who it doesn't block versus when it just takes down people's entire pages because they're making videos about critical race theory, for example, I've known people that's happened to, there's no rhyme or reason to it. And they don't have technically, from what my understanding, a very good appeal process to be like, listen, your algorithm is wrong. You done blew up my whole thing, which is why a lot of YouTube creators will tell people starting on TikTok is cute. Yeah, you'll get to 1 million way faster. It's very hard to monetize on TikTok in terms of their creator fund is paying literal pennies to people. It's not paying a lot. So what I thought was very interesting is the thorough, very review of the platform itself, which is creators can engage in duets, challenges, follow other users. I think this is very good in terms of explaining this to a judge who may not understand like how TikTok functions with all of the new internet widgets and the new apps and the new things. At the end of the day, they're judges and juries who don't necessarily interact with these things, who all of a sudden have to become basically an expert at something that they may or may not know. So I think actually going through everything is very helpful. Also, it was just kind of comical to me to read through it. So for example, in the challenges section, also known as TikTok trends, it's basically creating video using a famous song or hashtag, trending tunes, and hashtags like hashtag eyes, lip, face, hashtag don't judge me challenge, hashtag bottle cap challenge. I don't know any of these, what these are. So if you do, maybe so it's triggering trend for you. Hashtag, but have you seen, and hashtag flip the switch. I think I saw the flip the switch, and that is because we the millennials are indignant and we take everything from TikTok and just repost it on Instagram. So I saw it on Instagram. Encourages users to try out new dancing techniques or come up with their own spin on a topic and thus create their views or followers. It should also say, and just appropriate from Black creators, but they didn't want to write that in there. That's fine. They then have all the different partners that are on TikTok. So you have campaign management partners, which they assist advertisers in capitalizing fully on the platform's ad offerings with the help of cutting edge technologies, ad mix, Borscht, Buzzo Hero, and customer acquisition are some of the agencies under this partnership. I have no idea. Measurement partners. Again, I think it would be fascinating if you are a TikToker, someone who their primary source of income is TikTok, for them to just read this, because I'm not sure creators on TikTok know that all these things are available. It's not very transparent. I'll give it to YouTube. YouTube is transparent in that if you click around in YouTube Studio, you can see like, hey, these are the new features coming up. This is what's available to you. Hey, Stephanie, you like live stream? Try this on the live stream, etc. YouTube is always trying to get people to try new features, new products, etc. TikTok, on the other hand, I'm like, none of this is really intuitive. Creative partners, they have audiovisual and technological skills to assist businesses. A lot of these are skewed towards the business versus the creator because they want businesses to be on their platforms. Effects partners, who knew? Commerce partners specialize in marketing techniques to facilitate merchants to establish and manage their business effectively. This includes Shopify, Products Up, and Square. So TikTok is partnered with all of the mainstream and reputable companies. Like Square is a mainstream and reputable payment transaction provider, I would say. So one of the interesting things that they stated, and they didn't go back and restate it, but which is, moreover, the algorithm does not recommend duplicate content. Videos already seen by the user are flagged by the user as spam and potentially disturbing content. Although the algorithm is inclusive. Interesting. There are many articles that would argue against that, and does not make suggestion based on the number of followers. It doesn't make suggestions based on the number of followers. It makes suggestions based on the complexion, though, in my opinion. Thus, if a user creates outstanding content that speaks directly to the target audience, the content has just as much chance as the biggest TikTok stars of landing on another user's For You page. Interesting about this is because the algorithm doesn't recommend duplicative content, they further were basically trying to argue a little bit that if you, the creator, are saying so-and-so is a liar, like, I'm not selling fake cardigans, I would never. It's cashmere over here all day, every day. The algorithm is basically like, well, they've already seen things about cardigans. They don't really need to see that. It's the same. It's the same unless you make a stitch, which it didn't bring up stitches. But I can imagine that because the complaint is so detailed, they probably had to have some of the, I would say, younger associates, because TikTok is geared towards Gen Z. Gen Z is running TikTok. There are, of course, other demographics. There are millennials on there, Gen X. Hey, there might be some silent generation on there, other people, but it's mostly Gen Z running amok on TikTok. So maybe they forgot the stitches part, or maybe for some reason they didn't think it was important. I'm not sure. They have everything else in there. So then you have, let me move me. Okay. So you have TikTok ads, how TikTok makes money. TikTok launched TikTok for Business in June 2020, a new advertising option. They have in-feed video ads via brand takeovers, which I thought was kind of interesting. These are ads that get displayed right after you open your TikTok account and have the potential to bring in a lot of money for TikTok. The displays of such can cost anything from $50,000 to $100,000. The brands are spending so much money on TikTok, which is why, as a creator, will TikTok themselves pay you? No. The creator fund doesn't work like how YouTube has basically a revenue split. We have a rev share, essentially 55-45. Who's getting? I think I get 45 and they get 55. I'm probably getting less. So there's a revenue share. The creator fund is we have a set amount of money to give y'all, and we will change the rules of this when we give it to you, which is why y'all are making pennies. And every week there are creators that go and make videos, TikToks, stating, hey, I had 1 million views and I always have 1 million views and now I'm getting $30, $40. What is the difference? And they at TikTok corporate, they said they try to email people, no one answers them. It's very shady altogether. And then you have the commission for content creators, etc. So in terms of just understanding how it allegedly functions and all the things available, I think TikTok, the complaint is very good for that on a baseline. Now, in terms of how this lawsuit is structured, Bethenny and her team are structuring this as a class action, which I think is very smart. And they will probably most likely get a lot of other claimants to go, because it's not just Bethenny being affected by the alleged fraud. To take somebody's likeness and be like, oh yeah, we're peddling this, blah, blah, it's a level of scamming. It's a level of scamming. So since she's not the only one being affected, I do think in terms of actually passing and circumventing Section 230, this is a smart way to do it, which is she's basically trying to use copyright. That is what her team is doing. Right of publicity, saying there's a whole entire section in there of, hey, Bethenny as a creator, she created these TikToks. It is in a fixed format. It fits the rules of copyright. This is a copyright work. They are taking that. They are not making it substantially new. They are just stealing the copyright and then lying. So what's interesting is when you have a class action, you have to show the commonality. So these are some of the questions of law and fact common to the class. So this will be common to Bethenny as well as all of the other claimants. And I'm assuming she should get at least maybe a couple hundred. If that, I would say I don't really see much of a deterrent for people that are TikTok creators to not join her class action. Besides, if you don't like her and you think that she's the richest Karen. Besides that, I mean, it's not like TikTok is paying people that much money anyway. TikTok, however, does ban people. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just are like, oh, well, whatever. It is important to note, which I didn't say in the beginning, but it is very well known. I'm sure all of you already know this. TikTok is owned by a foreign corporation. So TikTok is living its own life. I don't personally think that the shareholders of TikTok particularly care about US law, which was evidenced when former president, who hopefully is not coming back, decided to go on Twitter, because that man only spoke through Twitter because actually doing his job was way too beyond him, went on Twitter and was like, we are going to ban TikTok. And TikTok just left. And TikTok continued to build offices in the United States and said, anyways, we're doing what we want to do. TikTok is owned by a Chinese corporation. The parent company is ByteDance. And formerly, which I think they've deprecated it, used to have Musical.ly. Musical.ly was basically like the beta version of TikTok. So some of the common questions are whether and to what extent TikTok has a duty to protect the persona's voices, content, and likeness of Ms. Frankel and class members from unauthorized use on TikTok's platform, whether TikTok failed to adequately protect the persona's voices and content and likenesses from the class members. So it's interesting how they're framing this as whether or not TikTok protected your persona, your likeness, your copyright, versus whether or not TikTok moderated the content properly. Because once you say moderation, is getting thrown out. In terms of the defense, that is definitely what TikTok is going to argue in their answer, which is, well, under 230, this entire lawsuit is barred. I think that they might hopefully get a little bit farther because they have framed the lawsuit in this manner. Whether TikTok violated the law by failing to promptly notify Ms. Frankel and class members that their respective personas, content, and likenesses were being used, whether TikTok failed to implement so this one they shouldn't have put in there, whether TikTok failed to implement and maintain reasonable procedures and, next one, practices appropriate to the nature and scope of ensuring blah, blah, blah. That's moderation. That's moderation. And it's very hard to argue this case without arguing moderation, because it is about content moderation, which is, who knows how they're moderating anything? Who knows? Only they know. It's like a black box. And then whether TikTok engaged in unfair, unlawful, or deceptive practices, whether they're entitled to actual damages, etc. So this is going to be very interesting. So now we have what they're arguing, which is copyright and the right of publicity. So the voice images of Ms. Frankel and class members and property rights subject to protection. So they then go through what we talked about, just going through all of copyright, which is it needs to be an original idea fixed. So yeah, making fun of Hailey Bieber, brownie glaze, and whatever. See, I can't even remember because it's so stupid. Calling it basic, which she should have just said it was appropriation. I mean, that would make more sense. And that it doesn't look good on her either, but that's none of my business. That is copyrightable. That is copyrightable, correct? And so they go through that. And then you have everything else. And then you have publicity, which right of publicity is not recognized in every single state in the US. It is, however, recognized in New York. And Miss Bethenny Frankel was a Real Housewives of New York. She's a resident of New York. She is a New York gal through and through. So the right of publicity, which is the right of publicity, prevents the unauthorized commercial use. So selling faux cardigans is commercial use of an individual's name, likeness, or other recognizable aspects of the persona. So it is her right to hawk all of her products, which are all, I think her big brand is Skinny Girl. Is Skinny Girl everything. Skinny Girl wine, Skinny Girl popcorn, Skinny Girl galore. That's the aesthetic that she likes. Skinny Girl. All right. One thing that was interesting, she then did a few, what is it called? Interviews. She did a few interviews in which she said, what if this had tarnished my reputation so bad? And it's like, girl, the lawsuit is saying it has. Like, you got to follow through. You got to follow through with what you're trying to say, which is irrelevant. The court, they'll probably bring that up and be like, well, Miss Frankel is the multi-million-dollar owner of all these things. What are a couple of TikToks doing to her in terms of arguing the amount of damage that she's faced? But in terms of arguing whether or not TikTok has a responsibility to people to protect their copyright is valid. It's valid. It's just whether or not this is actually going to see the light of day in a courthouse because of Section 230. All right. Which paragraph 91, they keep teetering back and forth, which is interesting, between trying to just focus on right of publicity and copyright, and then kind of being like, well, your moderation is jack diddly squat. Because these videos are not policed by TikTok, policed is moderation, and its desire for revenue motivates it to allow this unlawful conduct and to continue. And content creators such as Ms. Frankel and other class members are required to constantly monitor. This is a going around and saying, because you don't have moderation, all of the creators on your channel have to moderate their own shit. They have to moderate and go through the comments and make sure nobody's not popping up stealing their stuff. Versus if someone uses your video on YouTube and you have it, I don't know how to do the settings, and I wouldn't do it anyway because I'm a commentary channel. I use other people's things within reason, 30 seconds, and credit them as well. But there are certain channels, which this happened last week actually, where that Van Lathan, I was going to say a different name. I was like, that's not the man's name. The Van Lathan clip that I showed during the live and discussing Kanye is owned by TMZ because he formerly worked at TMZ. It's on TMZ's platform. He was a TMZ employee when he made the statement. I used that statement in the live because it was a very poignant statement. And basically he was saying, Kanye, you act a fool, you do all these things, and you go back to being this rich Negro over there, and the rest of us have to deal with it. And this is a problem, and I don't like it. And I used that point. It was literally 27 seconds of the clip. TMZ immediately, after the video went up, was like, oh, this is a copyright strike. Your video can stay up and we will collect all the coins from this video. The hell you will. The hell you will. 8 Advantage is getting a check from me. That is my student loan. So the only way to get around it is you have to clip out the 27 seconds, which sucks because it's 27 seconds of an hour and 15-minute video. It clearly is not making the video. It was making a point, but why should TMZ get 100% of my money? Foolishness. So it's very interesting in terms of content moderation. I guess I could. I don't know how to do it, and I wouldn't do it anyway. You can set your channel to say everything on your channel on YouTube is copyrightable. So if somebody uses a clip, then you get all of the money. As a commentary channel, that would be wildly disingenuous. And as somebody who does believe in like education and sharing, I don't care if people share like a minute, 2 minutes of the video. The whole 30 minutes of video, that's objectively wild. That's objectively wild. And I'm going to kindly tell you, please don't. Like, let's not. And TikTok doesn't do that. TikTok just lets people just take your stuff and they don't say anything to you. I think the only time you'll get a notification on TikTok is if someone stitches your content with theirs. And I believe, to my limited understanding, is if they use the actual stitch function. So if you stitch somebody in, for example, Premiere Pro, which is the editing software I use, and then I upload it, well, unless I tag the person, it's not going to show that I stitched them. So interesting. Very interesting. Listen, TMZ has enough money from doing the wrong thing. And I think it's very, very, very ironic. Very ironic that TMZ of all people owns that Van Lathan clip. All right. TikTok's unauthorized and unlawful use of Miss Frankel's image, likeness, and content has caused Miss Frankel and class members irreparable injury, which is it. Irreparable. I mean, that's a legal term. You have to say irreparable. But again, Bethenny is living good in the brownstone. Bethenny has been living good in the brownstone. Bethenny at this point is someone who continues to work and do all these things and get herself into problems because Bethenny likes labor. Bethenny doesn't actually need to work. She just want to do something. So low vibrational behavior. I mean, her and TMZ, but that's none of our business. And time for some wine. All right, let's go through these comments. Which we got through this in record time. I was wondering, I was like, this is gonna take very long. Okay. All right, let's go through the comments. Hey, Kendron. Hey, Jace. Listen, the man is foolish in terms of Alex Jones. He really believes that him declaring bankruptcy is going to get him out of all of this, of everyone. You mess with angry, rich white people. Exactly. This is America. It is about who is the victim. Sir, he's not getting away unscathed out of this. He is not getting away unscathed out of this. All right. Yes to the wine sipping, which I didn't have much left. So yesterday for our Patreon live, I poured too much wine and then I forgot to drink it. So here we are. Hey, Jonathan, the richest Karen. Listen, that's a great way to title an article. I was like, okay, shout out to Candace. Which I'm like, I should say her last name again. I'm like, you not the other one. All right. Oh, yay. Thank you. Also, I'm surprised that YouTube pushed out that Queen Elizabeth video. It got a decent amount of views. And I was like, oh, look at YouTube. Okay. The algorithm said, fine. Listen, the brownie glaze, I also want to tell people, and like, just to be factual, the reason why brown lip liner and lip gloss was a thing with Black women and is a thing, it has been for many generations now, thing with Black women and Latinas, is because the outline of our lip is brown. I have pink lipstick on right now, so we can't see mine, but it made sense. The girls out here looking silly, just out here looking silly. Listen. Pepper Queen, you should watch the Sloan video on Haley's racism. She's true to it. Oh, I need to watch that. Yes, thank you, Pepper Queen. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I always forget, like during the live, to do that. It's a mess. Listen, for generations. And it's interesting because on Instagram, people then started posting pictures of like, well, this is my mom and my grandma, you know, like, I'm confused, Haley. We're all confused. All right. Yes, Lashana, Browning Days. Let's try cultural appropriation lips. I cannot. We should just call it that. We should call it that. We should do that. All right. Let's going through the comments. Kelly P, but didn't Bethenny try to sue Skinny Mixes over name patent issues? I'm not sure. I haven't, to be honest, I don't really keep up with her mess. Every once in a while, she's just on the internet saying some anti-black thing for no reason. Like no one will ask her and she just pop up and do it. And then her excuse is always without fail. Well, sometimes I have controversial opinions and, I'm contrarian. It's like, no, honey, it's just giving racist. It's just giving that. Just stand in your truth and be done with it and be done. Jace, girl, imagine if Google, child, oh my God, I don't want to imagine. Be a monopoly. A monopoly. Hey, Marcus. Yes, completely agree. We need more Black and POC programmers writing code at these big tech companies. We need more big tech companies to allow more Black and brown programmers into their companies in the interviewing process. That's what we need. Because the things I've seen when I was corporate counsel, so I've worked in tech for many years as a lawyer, and sometimes in smaller tech companies as like the de facto product counsel, so working with the engineering teams as well. Oh, Lord. The way that people write you have to push back in a kind way so they understand, but just flabbergasting to me. All right. Camille A, I'm a researcher on social media machine learning. Child, it's a long way to go before these content moderation algorithms are accurate and fair. Yes, I believe it. It's fascinating to me, and it's just like on a micro level of just watching which of my things get flagged. It's very interesting. All right. Oop, I'm gonna put this on the screen, but I'm not gonna read it out loud because then we definitely not gonna get any money from this. Yep, radicalization through YouTube, which is happening a lot. Like you see the manosphere radicalizing young boys. The things my little sisters tell me that little boys at school are saying to them is terrifying and also wild because I'm like, it wasn't like that when I was their age. I'm like, of course, like there were issues because socially people let little boys get away with a lot more than little girls. But the things that kids are seeing on TikTok and on YouTube as well, Lord. I feel like Instagram is like this as well. Instagram will allow for so many things and be like, no, not that. All right. Sunny days. The minimum for advertising on TikTok is like 10K to even get through the door. TikTok is making bank. They're making billions of dollars. Large amounts of money with very little transparency, which is why I would say from like a societal standpoint, why TikTok as a company it needs a little regulation. So I am rooting for Bethenny in her class action lawsuit, even though I'm not rooting for her personally because she's a mess. Thank you, Sherion. I'm trying to find the comment. I see it, but I don't see the comment. I'm looking for the comment. That's what I feel. I get on it when people like send me them, but then I'm like, I should probably make content over here because as a creator, in terms of where the brand dollars are, the brand dollars, if you can show you have a TikTok following, are on TikTok. People will pay wild amounts of money for a little TikTok. I've seen the girlies showing some of their receipts because some of them are not telling the truth. Some of them are on there just lying, but some of the girlies are making a good coin off of these brands. So, all right. Yes. Of course, you can wine and chill with water, tea, coffee if you may, chai. I did not know this, and I feel like I didn't know this right now. Lord have mercy. Wow. These people are not bright. All right. All right. Thank you, Sherion, again. I was looking for the comment. I was like, where is it going? Oh, good. I'm glad, because y'all know. I always try to practice the names before I say them, because I'm like, it's going to be wrong. And I'm like, well, I think it's important to try. Listen, not off-white. My girl says she is a bit of beige. Nonsense. This is, the Baldwin's just mess. Nothing but pride mess. Well, on that note, things coming up. So on Patreon, I meant to put a little like Patreon thing. We hit 250 patrons. So thank you. And I had put a goal to hit 250. And when we hit 250, we would do an all Patreon live, because the lives currently are for like the $10 and up tier bi-weekly. So we're going to do that next week for all the patrons. So I'm super excited about that. If you're on Patreon, let me know what you'd like to see. I need to go on there and answer some comments and questions y'all had anyway. So I'm going to do that tonight, and then I'll put that out. So super excited about that. We are going to cover the student loan fiasco, which I tried to sit through that hearing. They had a hearing this week for the judge to hear from the, I believe, 6 Republican governors who are like, no one can have student loan cancellation. How dare these poor people get any reciprocity? Specifically because Mohila, one of the student loan servicers, stated, and quote, they will lose millions, if not billions of dollars. That's the mother effing point. But okay. So the judge heard it. They have not come back yet on whether or not they're going to pause student loan cancellation. I mean, I don't know. You never know in this place. You never know. It will be interesting to see. However, the student loan application has been paused. It's supposed to be up on the 17th. It's a very easy application. In our monthly, because I haven't done October's yet, our monthly student loan update video, I'll upload the link. So that way, those of you that qualify can apply. If you're on the cusp, so the income cap is 125K AGI, adjusted growth income. If you're on the cusp, I would say apply. I know we're near the cusp. That's back when I used to make like attorney salary. So I'm not getting a red cent, which is unfair, especially since I got Pell Grants all 4 years. So I guess they decided that I had magically become a rich lady, even though I got laid off. The jokes write themselves. So, but on that point, I highly recommend, if you're on the cusp, definitely apply. Definitely apply anyway. The application seems very straightforward, very easy. So apply and get your 20K if you have Pell Grants, or the 10K if you didn't get Pell Grants. I got Pell Grants all 4 years. Just doing me wrong. But I definitely recommend that. And so we're going to talk about that next week. I'm trying to think. We're going to do a video on, I don't think it'll be pertaining to a particular age, even though the video will probably focus on a specific age. And we talk about this on Instagram in our Monday live, our Money Monday live. We talk about Patreon a bit. We're going to do a video on Black men and health, specifically because I was gone for a few weeks because unfortunately my dad, who is a truck driver, or was a truck driver because now he can't drive trucks. And to be honest, because that job is dangerous, I'm very happy about that. Sad about the accident because it was terrifying. He is on the mend, but we're going to do a video about Black men and health in the United States, and the discriminatory things that happen, and also in terms of, I would say, some of maybe the barriers and roadblocks to seeking medical attention because the system is so racist, and some of the things that I've seen and I've noticed, because unfortunately I realized when I was sitting in the hospital with him that a decent amount, about a third of my closest friends, their fathers have passed away, all due to health related reasons. So there are specific issues. So I thought we'd talk about that. As the eldest daughter, it's going to fall on us. It's fallen on me, which is totally fine in terms of caretaking and all of that. But it's been very eye-opening, and just being in the medical system and seeing the foolishness up close is terrifying. So we are going to do a video on that as well. So that will be coming up in a couple weeks. I'm working with Charles, who's a medical researcher. So I'm really excited about that, to look at the intersections of class and health as well. My dad brought up a good point, which was he wanted to know and starting to do the research, because he said he'd let me interview him. So we'll see. In terms of, because he doesn't have a college degree, did that affect how the healthcare he received? And I was like, 100%. 100%, which is why I was in that hospital every day reminding them class isn't egregious, because that's the only way people respond sometimes. Like, yes, I'm his daughter, a lawyer. It's wild the better care people will give you if they think better of you, which is trifling. Because at first when he was in there, we're like, oh yeah, I'm a truck driver, people are just dashed him, which was really sad. So we're going to talk about all of that. We're going to talk about our U.S. healthcare system and specifically how it will affect, our fathers, uncles, brothers, cousins, sons. I know we have some people that are a little bit older as well. So, yeah. He does have health care insurance, which I'm really glad. The majority of my life, he didn't work for a company. So the first time he got PTO, I actually was in law school. I remember he called me. He's like, I have PTO because he started finally working for a company. And it was flabbergasting to me. I was like, wait, all these years you never had PTO? Didn't have PTO, didn't have sick days, didn't have anything. So thank God, after 30, almost 40 years of driving a truck, when this unfortunately happened, he had health insurance. So, child, mess. So we're going to talk about that. We are going to talk about that. Exactly, cybercat. But if they're owner ops, they have to get their own. Yeah, and he used to be owner op for all these years. Exactly. So that's going to come up. And then whatever foolishness that occurs in the next week or so will come up as well. I'm trying to think. I think we're all caught up on all the topics I had wanted to cover like while I was gone. So, which is good. So excited about that. Well, it is 7:35. Next week, I'm going to be honest. We will have our live on Thursday. Hopefully it will be at 5:30. I'm not sure. And I'm saying that from now because Thursday morning I'm flying back. So that might throw things off because I'm going to go home and check on them. And yeah. All right. And then go to Atlanta for a YouTube event too. So I was like, oh, let's go to the South for a little bit. So shout out to having some points. So that has helped a lot. All right. Well, I appreciate y'all and I will catch y'all later. Oh no, today's Thursday. I will catch y'all next week with some new videos. All right. Bye. Have a good night.